Hi guys, it's Belle here and it is time for day 2 of hashtag Summerween Craft Along. This is a little mini spooky challenge whilst we're in the height of summer here in this hemisphere that is being co-hosted by both myself and the wonderful Toni at Crafty by Toni. Links to her channel will be down below. Don't forget, we are both putting a video up each day. I will be putting mine up in what is the morning over here in the UK and hers will be later in the evening. So please do hit those bells so you will be notified when our videos go up. Now the tag for day 2, the technique is decayed lace and the spooky prompt is lost and abandoned. So I've got my tag ready, I've already backed it and I've got all my bits and pieces. The first thing I want to do is I want to cover the back of this, or the front of this rather, in some paper. This is a digital paper. Doesn't even need to go all the way up to the top. This is a digital paper. Well, I'm going to do it that way. That is from Tracy Fox. I want to say it's from her Craftly haul kit, but I could be wrong. So I will try and find where this paper is from and link it down below. Otherwise, please do go over and check out Tracy's Etsy. I will leave the link to that down below as well. I'm assuming going to be pulling in quite a few bits from Tracy's spookier kits because I have them and I like using them. So we will see. But for now, we're going to use this on this. Let's just stick that down. And hopefully I have cut it to the right size. If I haven't, it really doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Because the great thing about spooky and grungy makes is if you make a mistake, you can just call it part of the design. It's very forgiving in that way. So yes. And also, you tend to use a lot of inks and things in spookier designs or grungy designs. So, again, that makes the whole thing a lot more forgiving. I'm going to just do this. And I've noticed that needs a little bit of a trim as well. It is so great to see how many of you are excited for this challenge. And thank you so much for all your lovely comments on the box that I made. I really appreciated it. I'm coming in with some walnut stain. Yes. No, I'm going to come in with... No, I'm going to do the walnut stain. Make your mind up, though. So I found it so funny how similarly and yet different mine and Toni's were. If you haven't seen hers, please do go over and check out what she did. I love it. We both seem to go for this kind of crate idea, but her crate was not in an abandoned house. And we both ended up using crypt paste, but as Toni said in her video, that's one of my favourite all-time things to use. So obviously my projects are going to have crypt paste in them. We both then coloured our crypt paste, but we did it differently, and we both used some Tim Holtz creator labels, which also made me laugh. So that is the black soot, and we have that on here. Now I am going to do a top tuck that opens, and I have some of this paper. You guys might remember, those of you who've been here a long time. I know there's some new people here, so hello and welcome. But I got this pack. I ordered it off Etsy, and then when it arrived, oh my goodness, did it smell exceedingly of coffee. If you're new here, what you will not know is some Tim Holtz paper is that I'm allergic to coffee. So whilst I can handle coffee dyed things as long as I don't touch my face or anything like that, the smell of coffee can also make me feel quite poorly. And so I didn't expect them to smell so badly. I have hung them outside, letting the wind get to them as often as possible. So whilst there's still a faint coffee smell, and I will need to remember to wash my hands, I've got some wet wipes here. So this is some Tim Holtz paper from his backdrops. Whilst I'm doing that, I want to use it in this because, in all honesty, they need to be used. What was I doing? Why was that way? Okay, so what I'm trying to do is, because I want this at an angle, I'm going to cut a little square. I have no idea why this was like that. With this first. Then we're going to come on with some paper. But what I also want to do is I want to cut this at a slight angle, because I want this to be at the top of this tag like so. So that's what I'm going to do. You can see no measurements there. I try and avoid those whenever possible, but I thought this would work because of the roses on this. This would actually work quite well. Now, here's the thing. You know I'm going to say it. There's going to be a magnet in here. That's not a magnet. That's my bats. Because I'm going to need this to close. So I'm going to grab one of my magnets, or two of my magnets. Oh! One got attracted to the lid. And we're going to have that on here. Want it to be a little tuck spot, and this is where our decayed lace is going to go. Now, when I was thinking about this prompt, bearing in mind you can interpret them any way you want. That's the joy of prompts, guys. Whatever comes to your mind, that's the right thing. So please don't worry if you're new to doing challenges, or maybe newer to crafting, or maybe you don't tend to do spooky challenges, whatever it may be. Please don't worry if you think, well, that's not how I interpreted decayed lace. Doesn't matter. It is all about what comes to mind for you creatively when you think of decayed lace. I need that to be up a bit. Just gonna fold that, because that is what matters. But when I was thinking of decayed lace, I was thinking, you know, because why not, of, you know, when you find a coffin, well, you know, when you find a coffin, like you're all just wandering around finding coffins in the middle of nowhere, like some spooky horror movie. But when you see on TV or something coffins, and they might open them or something like that, you'll see a sort of decayed body or a skeleton or something in the coffin, but you'll still see some of the clothes. That's what I was going for when I was thinking of decayed lace. Or because in my kind of mind, all these prompts are taking place in an abandoned house or attic, because that's just my vibe, guys. Give me an old abandoned house, historical house, and tell me it's going to be spooky, and I'm like, yeah, that's the exact aesthetic that I like crafting in. Which, if you've been here any length of time, you would have seen time and time again. Maybe I should change it up a little bit. I have done abandoned hospitals before, but I love houses. But when you're in an abandoned house and you go in the attic, the reason I was thinking of the lace, which if you've watched the first video, you will know that I'm talking about the fact that, just going to attach that onto there. The lace itself, I had said in quite a few of the comments, I wanted it popping over the top, almost as if something was coming out of the box itself. And maybe you found a decayed dress in there or something. Now that's kind of what I'm going for. There is a piece, it's not a whole piece in my story, in my mind. It's not a whole piece of lace. And I'm going to use the lace I was actually looking at for the crate. But it's not a whole piece. I want quite a few of the flowers on here. So I need to kind of put it somewhere where I'm going to see some flowers. So it's not going to be a whole piece of lace, right? It's going to be some scrap. And you're not going to be able to tell the person who's found it what it was from. Was it from a christening dress? Was it a christening outfit? Was it from a wedding dress? Was it from just a shawl or something that was made? Was it, I don't know, any kind of outfit at all? You're not going to be able to tell what it was from. Oh, where is... Sorry, I'm just grabbing this because we are now going to distress this up. So, get a piece of paper or something, because you can use this then too. Oh, I love doing that. I love doing it with tea stain paper. My lovely friend Tiff often does it with packing paper, and I think that's such a good idea. So that's what I am doing as well. What I need is some sprays. We're going to do some sprays because if it's a decayed, sorry about that noise. If it's a decayed lace, we want some. I thought I had a grey spray. I mustn't have. We want it to look a certain way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come on with, you guessed it, this is already kind of tea dyed, but I'm going to come on with a little bit of walnut stain in places. And I'm also going to use some water to kind of help it sit and soak into that lace, because we definitely want it discoloured because it's decayed. There's something not right about it anymore. It obviously, someone loved it at some point, because otherwise why would they have kept it? Right, I'm going to come on with a little bit of black soot that's going to go more grey, but that's good. You know, someone kept this piece of lace. It meant something to someone. But who did it mean something to, and why? And why is there only a little piece left? What happened to the rest of the dress? These are questions that we should most definitely ask ourselves. I'm going to get some Tim Holtz paper and put it on top because I want to see what it's going to look like. Because that's the paper we're using. Let's move that to the side. I don't mind if that gets distressed, guys, because why would I? Right, I want to add, I don't know how well this will work, but I'm going to add a little bit of forest moss. That's green. These are all oxide sprays because that's what, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. But I also quite like it. Why does it have the green on there? What has happened to whoever wore it? And let's come on with pumice stone, which has very quickly become a favourite of mine to use. Also really love how we're getting some of the lace pattern in the background. Let's bring that back. We want it looking decayed. We want it looking yucky. Okay, I am going to dry that. Okay, that is dry enough. Now, the other thing we're going to need, if this is going to be decayed lace, I know, you guys are probably thinking, Belle, you can barely see that now. But that's what I like, guys. Because this is what it started out as, which is still beautiful. Really beautiful. Love that flower on there. But it's decayed. So it's a darker lace. Right, we could actually stitch a little bit on top of it too. Anyway, the next thing I need to do is I need to cut into this lace because we need to rip holes in it. Oh my gosh, if you're new here and you're not sort of used to the fact that Toni also just rips pieces and that, you may be looking at this thinking, what are you doing? But it's meant to be decayed, guys. And we've got a hole. And I'm definitely probably, we'll see, going to have something coming out of that possibly. So we need to rip and tear it just a little bit more in places too. Yeah. I am looking at that, wondering if it's too dark. I had fun spraying it and I love the way it looks, but then I also really love just the normal bit of lace, but then that doesn't look decayed. No, we're going to have to go for this. Now I am going to go and stitch this on to here rather than glue it. If you don't use a sewing machine, don't have one and things like that, just glue it on, but I'm going to go and stitch. All right, there we go. It is stitched around. That was interesting because I could barely see it. Also, when you have a magnet, it actually, often with your sewing machine, it tends to attach onto your sewing machine because there's usually metal on your sewing machine. So that always makes it super interesting to try and, I want it still looking a bit thingy and I want it coming down on there. Maybe I should have picked a lighter background to do it on, but you know, it is what it is. Could have picked black lace too, but I wanted to use this one. I'm just kind of using my scissors to open this up. I want it looking tattered, even more tattered than it already does, with its holes. I wonder about stitching part of that. I know you're like, but you've already stitched it. No, I mean actually physically stitching it. Right, where did the... Here, no, where did it go to? There it is. Right, I need to add this magnet now so that we can get other things done. This also works for the prompt lost and abandoned because it's obviously been abandoned. It's abandoned in this house. It's been lost for a long time, generations maybe. It's forgotten about and the world has moved on, whilst the person that this belonged to now is gone into the past. All right, I am going to bring in Toni's foundation, Foxings and Foundation, CBT 0048, because I want a little bit of distressing on here. That's what I would like. So, and I think like usual, again, it's more for background. I'm not going to worry too much if lots of it gets covered up. I think as usual, I'm going to be using my VersaFine Vintage Sepia because it's kind of my favourite to do. Now I already, oh no, I moved that off there. Ah, no, on you go. It's because I didn't stick it down with anything. I already know a lot of this is going to be covered up because I know what I'm adding. but I'm still going to add it onto there. Oh, I love that. Also, I'm going to add a little bit into here. So we've got that. Let me clean it. All right, so I'm actually going to glue this down now onto here. I need to remember I need this bit open. Also, the reason I had the fold here was because we're going to be putting something in and out of there. If you've got a fold like that, it just means that things go in and out a lot easier and tend to rip less because there is that little extra fold, extra sort of security there. Right, let's open that up so that we can put this on. Yeah, okay, it's not quite straight, but it's going to work. Grungy. I love to be grungy. Yeah, okay. Like I said, it might have looked better with this lace, but that doesn't feel lost and kind of thingy. Like, why has this got grass stains? What has happened that made it have that? Now, I've made some of my faux rust. I do not have a video on this because it's not my idea. It's something that Natasha from Treasure Books did, and all I did was copy her tutorial. I'm wondering about bringing on a little bit of gesso so that this pops a little bit more. Although, in all honesty, it's just going to go into the background. Yeah, it's fine. Maybe a little bit of gesso. What do we think? Or, I was going to say book page. Now, something else is going on here. So, there is that. Where is... Oh, I do have a little bit of Tim Holtz, actually, sitting right here on my table. So maybe use this, although thinking about it, this is going to make this chunky and something does have to go in this pocket, so we'll see. Don't want to cover up too much of that floral. But we could just bring it in there. Yes. All right. And that'll help the rust flowers to pop. So yeah, I will leave the link to the video that Natasha at Treasure Books did, and you can go over and see how she makes her rust papers. I will say make sure you do it in a very ventilated... I know I'm covering up a lot of that, but it's also in other places. It's absolutely fine, guys. I say it all the time. I put things on as background to inspire me, and that's what the whole point of them is. Inspiration. Now, where is that flower? Oh yeah, that pops a little bit more. Perfect. Obviously I was going to make some rust. It's my favorite technique I've learnt this year. The problem is that it is quite time consuming, and even though I do it in like large batches, when I first did it I was die cutting everything and doing each piece individually. I no longer do that. I do them in squares, and I do mine on craft card. And it is still time consuming. And the problem is, once I do it, I love it so much that I very quickly use up every single piece of it, which is a problem. Right, I'm going to put that on there because I want that to be our next, our extra tuck when we're putting something in here. So, I want that on there. Okay, that will do. And then we'll get on to the journaling card, which has to go in the middle. Like so. Now I'm going to hold that on just to make sure that's properly stuck down and in place. I'm I may add another little bit, but until then, we're going to come in with a journaling card. Now I have just this. It's quite a flimsy piece of paper, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball cutting it into a mini journal card. Welcome to my channel. I'm so professional. I eyeball all measurements. Right. That would go into there, and then it would have to go, but it's got to go in here, which it does. I think it needs to be trimmed a little bit more. And for the next bit for Lost and Abandoned, I'm going to use a real vintage photo, and it's a strange photo because, oh yeah, that'll go in there. Yep. And I need to think about where that is because I want the photo to be more prominent. Let me show you the photo. It is this one. Now you can see this is so discolored. Maybe it didn't process properly, that you can just see the images on here. To be honest, it's clearer on camera than it is in real life. And it actually says on here, Molly Baker and Betty and Cousins, May 1923. Now for the idea of Lost and Abandoned, a load of photos being put in a box and abandoned. Were any of these the owners of that lace? Who knows? I am going to cut it down. I wish I could cut it so that I could actually use this bit, but I don't think I can. I think her head is right there. We'd cut off part of her head, but actually I don't even know if I'll cut it. I might rip it. I don't know how easily this would rip. Oh, it rips so easily because it's an old photo. I know, I'm sure there's some of you out there who are like, what are you doing? But these are abandoned, guys. These old photographs you can find in bundles in antique shops or on eBay and places like that. People have just forgotten them. They've just abandoned them. And yet these photos really meant something to someone once upon a time. I'm going to come in with actually ground espresso because I want it a bit darker. So if I can give them new life, their family didn't want these photos. They just left them. So if I can give it new life and, you know, do something, oh, sorry for knocking you, with it, then that's what I am going to do, because I hate the idea of these photos just being left. Now, could I have, I know what you're going to say, oh, Belle, but you should have maybe, I'm trying to find it back. I might just use more of this. You should have scanned it or something. And you're right, I could have done. I could have scanned it. But I didn't. You know? I mean, it's so badly exposed and damaged that I don't even know how well scanning would do. It might have worked and we might have been able to get more image from it. We might have been able to do something. I'm actually going to keep that bit with it, you know, when you're editing and stuff. Sorry, my brain is ticking away, but I've used it and I'd rather it get used than put in a dump and just... These people went on holiday and, well, it looks like they're on holiday, and they took these photos, and now, well, who knows why, but their families don't want the photos anymore. Their families just sold it off, or something happened, or... And even then, think about in your own life how many... maybe old family photographs that you don't know who they are. Like your family might be like, oh, it's so-and-so. And you're like, who is that person? because you don't know. This is some tea bag put on brown paper, which is another technique that I like to do. Just wondering about it across here, to be honest. We're just gluing things down. And this tag might still be too big or chunky, so I need to think about that when I'm adding bits and bobs. I actually turned that the wrong way around. So, forgotten lace and lost and abandoned. Did the lace belong to one of these young ladies? I think there's two ladies. I think so from the names as well. There's a little boy in front. He looks almost like he's in a sailor suit. But then so do the girls. Maybe they're at the beach. Something like that. I don't know. Maybe. And I'm definitely going to be rounding the edges of this because I just feel like it's going to make it a lot easier to go in and out of that little tuck area. Right. Where did the tag go to? Oh, I can see it. So we're going to have the girls down here. Well, the girls and the boy. And I've just got a load of scraps, which is what I love to work with. I've also got the word who. I want to bring that on. I just love to work with scraps. I also love the idea of the florist because of the flowers on there. Wholesale florists. But again, why the florists? What happened to these girls? Or this boy? Did it belong to them? Where are they now? This must have been their house at some point. But not anymore. We all know I love a label. Can't go wrong with a label. Although in this instance, maybe you can, because I don't know if that fits. A longer one. There's my longer label. It might work better. I do want it to say who. I don't know where this is. It might be from Tim Holtz. Who knows? Who knows? Stop making yourself laugh, Belle. It wasn't funny. It made me laugh. Oh, I like that up there. Who? Who are they? But then it could go well down here. Don't know. I do like it up there. I am really trying not to add too many layers, but we're adding layers and that's just that. Oh, we've got a little half label here. Maybe I could fit that somewhere. Coming in from the side. Like so. Okay, that works. That works for me. Let's start gluing a few things down. Although, this is far too perfect. I want this scratched. Still want to be able to read florists, though. Because obviously, I might rip that bit. We've got flowers and things, so on here. And the Victorians loved like lace and wearing it for all the different occasions, but they made a spectacle, a kind of, they really leaned into the whole funeral and death, because it was an issue they dealt with a lot, you know, either through poor medication or still finding out about clean water and things like that. And obviously there was high poverty. So they definitely had a lot to deal with, to contend with. And so for the Victorians, there really was this love, or not love, but this need to feel like death became, I don't want to say a spectacle, but something like that for them. They wanted to really lean into everything around that. I felt like I had something that could work there. I do have a little bit of book. I love that, but I just don't know if it's too much. Also, I've barely got any left. That's got to go on there, like so. So let's do that. There was something, what was it that I thought would work there? And their outfits, well, if you were rich, their outfits were really quite extravagant. I'm going to add another little bit of the lace. And everything around the situation. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stitch that down there. So for once, I'm not even using black thread. I know, who am I? I'm using like a tan coloured thread. It seems to work. I know what it was. It was a piece of this, which is perforated cross stitch paper, but I had it in a darker colour. And I think that's what I was looking for, the darker colour. And now I can't find it. Oh, well, it is what it is. We don't need to worry. We'll deal with this. Yeah. So they had special clothes and customs and everything to do with coffins. You had the little bell thing because far too many people were buried when they weren't actually deceased. There was the whole seance that trend that became very popular during the Victorian era. Yeah. Ooh. I can't really put anything underneath it too much because of it having to go into that pocket. So that's a problem. Causing myself a problem. That's all right. It doesn't matter. Okay, let's just add a few creases onto this. So who are the people in this photograph? This photograph that's been abandoned. It's been lost and forgotten about in this attic. It's yet another box that we're opening up and trying to discover what's inside. Who lived there? What is their story? Why is it in the box with the little scrap of lace? Did something happen? Or is the lace from a joyful memory? Who knows? It's just there. Long forgotten, abandoned. Thought it would never see the light again. But no, we've discovered the box and are opening it to see what's inside, what the story can tell us. Now the back is really plain, and if you know me, I don't do plain. So I was going to add more paper, but I don't know if I will. We still have some of this roses one, actually. I could just use it, couldn't I, guys? Let's do that. And use it up. It feels strange, doesn't it, sometimes? It feels like we're intruding. These people had a whole life. And we're just looking at them, not knowing anything about who they are, what they did. It's a special moment, maybe. As a historian, obviously, this is something I love. But, yeah. And I do love old photos. I hate the idea that they're just abandoned in these places for people to buy. So, as I said, I like to use them in my art as a way of taking a moment to bring these people back into memory, to show their faces to the light of day again. I mean, I don't know who they are. Maybe they weren't very nice people. But in our memories, we can reimagine all of that. And we can give them a new story. Don't you love that idea? That you can have a new story? A positive one, hopefully, but a new story. I don't know. They just blend into this that you could almost believe they're not there, which gives them that ghostly feel. And I kind of love that too. Do you want to add a moth somewhere? I feel like you should have a moth. Oh, I love the moth. Again, it's just something I love. So I've got a couple of moths. This one might be good. I think that one fits better width-wise, but I kind of love that one. I'm just going to use it because I love it, and that's that. So, yes, this has to be glued down really well because it's going to go into that little tuck spot on the tag. The moth's wing could poke over the top, actually, or the edge, rather, is what I mean. Okay, so there we go. There are our people. Don't know if I want to add anything else to it. I might do. But let's get the tag back. Now we should be able to... This should pop in here. And then this should bend enough. Actually, let's do it this way around. Let's put that in there. And then it can tuck into here. We pull that down. The moth, the moth. I told you I needed to glue this moth really well. I obviously didn't, or I was just impatient and didn't leave it time to dry. There we go. Oh, yes, I do love that. Right, on here, let's take this back out. After fighting to get it in, I'm like, right, okay, let's just take this out a minute. Okay, love that, but I do have another little leaf which might look quite good. I think that does. I think that needs something else there for when that tag bit is out. Journaling card, rather, and come out like extra leaves on that flower. I had this little bit that I know is a Tracy Fox, but I can't remember from what. Old Fashioned Girls in Old Fashioned Gardens. I was going to add that, but I don't think we need it. Do I want it on the back? I do like decorating the back. No, I don't think we need that. What was the other thing? Tim Holtz. Come over here. Right. Oh, there it is. I knew it was somewhere. I feel like the fragile texture of a spider's web. That might be what this lace feels like. That's not going to work, and that's annoying now because, as you guys all know, it's really hard to get things back on to there. I wonder. All right, I pulled out the Tim Holtz rub-ons because they actually say lost and found on it. These are the, which ones? They're the TH94047, and they are, I think they're the field note ones, the specimen remnants. Yeah, it says lost and found. So, again, another favourite of mine. As you know, lost and abandoned, but we have lost. They were lost, and now we have found them. On there. I just love how faded that photograph is. So you focus on the other things around it, making it feel even more like they are lost. I don't know. It works for me. Okay, so we're going to put this in there and then pull that down. You knew the moths were going to make an appearance at some point. Anyone who's been here any length of time at all, you knew that was going to happen. I wanted them really to come out of the lace, which I still do kind of love. Not that one. What about this one? Just feel like it's too something. Too something. That's really, really it's great there though. Great description. Too something. Now I'm thinking about adding one of these onto here. I love these. And that just, I just feel like that adds a little something that again helps it pop. Got some music one. No, I like the writing. I have to be very careful where this is going to glue to. Because there are holes here. So I have to just, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice. It almost, I thought it said adventure. I think it's actually advertised. So, you know. Right, something is missing up here. What is it? What is it? Maybe it's not. Maybe I just need a tab on there. Okay, I was trying to find something. I wanted to put a moth in there. I tried flowers. That didn't work. I was going to do some stamping. That didn't work. I don't know what that needs. But whatever it needs, I need to find it. Where has... Oh my goodness. Oh my actual goodness. The magnet has gone. Oh my goodness. The magnet had fallen down because I hadn't glued it properly. Who am I? That's very unlike me. So we're going to stick it on the inside and that's going to be fine because this is where you just come in and you add a little something. You add a little smidge of something. We could even add a little bit more of the paper across there and just kind of glue that on to there. I feel like we need more of that paper. Also got, oh, do you know what else I've got? But you're going to see the magnet through this. No, we're not going to do that. Well, this is not going to plan. This is very unlike me with magnets. What is happening? Normally I would use washi, in all honesty, but I don't know that washi would work with the aesthetic. It probably would, but that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a little bit of this paper. It's not down long far enough. And we're going to make sure that's pressed really well and then still come on and ink around it. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. Makes a lot more sense. Being careful because it's not glued properly yet. Yep, so there we go. So the prompts were decayed lace. I feel like it's decayed. It's all grungy and dirty and looks like it's come from the ground. And lost and abandoned. Well, the lace is lost and abandoned. And so is this photo of whoever these people are. And whether they had something to do with this lace. And because they're in the same box. They're together. So I assume that they are. I'm actually going to move that up a little bit. So you see less of the who. You just see lost and abandoned. And like the bottom bit of the who. I also haven't decided on a topper yet. I don't know if I want sari silk or if I'm going to put an eyelet or what I'm going to do. But that's it, guys. That is day number 2's tag. It seemed like a simple idea, but I feel like everything wanted to challenge me today. But I do love how this looks. Oh, it's just so deliciously grungy. I would love to bring in some crypt paste on the sides here, but I think it would make taking the journal card in and out a little bit difficult. So anyway, let me know what you think, guys. I love how this has turned out. And obviously it opens up and you've got hidden writing space, and you've got your journal card that you can take out. And then we've just got this under here with the rust and the flowers as well. Very happy with that, guys. So please do like, subscribe, comment and share if you haven't already. I'll be back again soon with another video with day 3. Don't forget to use the hashtag SummerweenCraftAlong, and please do remember to pop over to Toni's channel this evening, where she will be doing her version on decayed lace and lost and abandoned, and I just know it's going to be amazing, and I'm going to sit there and think, why did I not think of that? But until then, we can pop this into our box behind our post box and our little invite. I'm also keeping my prompt list in there, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Until next time, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having lots and lots of creepy, crafty fun. Bye for now.